everyone. Welcome to another episode. This is your host, Jeffrey Pinzon, and I'm very excited to have this special guest on our show today, Julian Doan. I met him a couple years ago at an event, and I got to tell you, man, I've listened to a lot of public speakers, a lot of people speaking in front of thousands of people, and this gentleman, he's one of the persons that when it comes to public speaking, I look up to a lot. Him and Inky Johnson, I got to tell you, they're one of my favorites public speakers because they know how to captivate the audience. They know how to connect with people. They know how to bring the greatness out of you. And they like, when I heard him speak, I got uncomfortable because what he was speaking and the way that he was sharing the information with the audience was just phenomenal. So this gentleman is a public speaker. He's a transformational trainer as well as a life coach. He's well known in the network marketing industry. He's built a lot of companies and helped a lot of people transform their lives. So you're in for a treat because this person is gonna share a lot of valuable information where you guys are gonna be able to take this and run with it and change your life. So that's the whole objective of this podcast, is to bring you guys tools and systems where you guys are gonna be able to take out there and change your lives. So Julian, thank you for being here, brother. Greatly appreciate your time, man.
Thank you for having me on. It's definitely an honor and privilege to share this space with you, man. The modern day Napoleon Hill, you know what I mean? Going out there, collecting some of the best minds, creative minds, and just putting valuable information out there. Like I think podcast is such a huge thing, and what you're doing is definitely part of the solution for what the world needs.
Absolutely, especially in times like these, man. We need some positive information, some positive people that are playing a big game despite everything that's happening right now. So tell us a little bit about you, man. If I were to meet you, Julian, when you were in high school, who was Julian in high school? Who was that stud?
Definitely not a stud. So you're on right there, man. It's funny because like every time you hear like a person speak, they're like, I'm just like a normal person, right? And I used to say that a lot, but I've come to accept that I'm not a normal person at all. And I'm not saying that to impress or to brag or to say like I'm some type of stud, right? That's what a lot of people think. But to be honest, man, I was like the bottom of the barrel. Like, in high school, if you were to ask me who I was the kid with the roller backpack, running a class, people kicking it over, my Yu-Gi-Oh cards would fall out. I was a kid that was always picked on, bullied. And, as sad as it sounds, on several occasions, I ate lunch in a bathroom stall by myself. So that was who I was, man. Yeah.
And what happened from there, from high school? Like, how did you develop to the person that you are today? What was the stepping stone into your transformation?
Well,
who you are today.
It's crazy. They say that success doesn't happen overnight. I definitely agree with that. I think success happens night by night, not overnight. And so for me, what ended up happening was, it's like the movie with Ryan Reynolds, Just Friends. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that movie, but it's on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And so pretty much in high school, he was in love with this girl, and like he was this overweight guy. He was nerdy. He was geeky. He was in like the band, and he just is in love with this girl. And obviously, she was like the cheerleader. All the jocks liked her and stuff like that. And he got picked on at a party, got totally embarrassed, ran away, and on his bike crying, goes, "One day I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna show all of you." And so that was kind of what happened. I remember I was sitting in the bathroom stall, my senior year again. And I was like, man, I'm so sick of this. Like, nobody takes me seriously. Nobody respects me. And, I understand why. I was very socially awkward. I wasn't the type of person not the socially awkward that was shy, but on the other end, like the one that wouldn't shut up, that would say the weirdest things at the wrong moment just because they wanted attention and be liked. And I said, man, I'm going to find a way to prove all these people wrong. I'm going to come back on my 5-year, 10-year reunion. I want to be super successful. I'm going to be super good looking. I'm going to have a hot wife. I'm going to do all that, because that was my motivation at 17. And so after high school, good fortune came my way, right? Like, how do you really explain good fortune? It just kind of happens. And I, on a college campus, my friend was cold marketed. And so for those of you that don't know what cold market is, it means like you were approached by a stranger, right? And technically I wasn't approached. It was my friend. And he was being pitched about network marketing, about this opportunity that can change his life, where he could have whatever he wants. It's technology. There's a lot of money to be made. And my friend totally wasn't interested. He thought it was a scam. And for me, I was like, man, I've been praying for an opportunity. Let me come. And the guy looked at me like, I don't think this is for you. And normally when you say that in sales, it's kind of like a takeaway, right? It's like, oh, you say that, so they're interested. But legit, he was concerned that if I got started, I wouldn't have success. And so it's kind of like when people in sales get desperate, they beg people to come. I begged him to take me. I said, if you take me to the meeting, I'll buy you dinner. So that was the pitch. And he took me. I got involved, introduced the world of network marketing, more so the world of personal development. And that's where everything changed. You know, my mentor said to me, he goes, Julian, if you could have everything you want the way you are, you should already have it. So if you want more, you got to become more. And that was probably the first line that ever truly hit me. And it gave me hope. It said that, man, you know what? Like, I might suck now. People might count me out now. But if I'm willing to work on myself harder than anybody else, I can have the results. And so that would be what I would say the starting point of my personal transformation.
And what drove you to be persistent to him and tell him, like, hey, man, I'll take you out to lunch and everything, despite, like, did he have already the lifestyle, or what drove you to?
I just prayed for an opportunity. You know what I mean? I just wanted something so bad. And so when I saw it, like, I just wanted to jump on it because, you know, it was my first year of college. I wasn't really vibing with it. I never really did well in school. You know what I mean? I was probably one of the only Asian kids that failed math. And, you know, so I was like, man, like, you know, school's not really for me. And, you know, we're taught, go to school, get your grades, go out there, go to college. And I think that's a great plan when you know exactly what you want and if what you want requires an education. But I think if you don't know what you want and you're going to school, I think it's a waste of money. It's a waste of time, especially if it's not something that you really want to pursue. And so I just wanted out. And so when he approached me about it, honestly, it could have been any opportunity. Chances are, like, honestly, if it was Kirby selling vacuums, I probably would have taken that up too. You know, I just needed something. And so that's kind of what happened. No offense to Kirby people.
I want to touch on what you said right now, like people that are going to school, but they don't know what they want, but they're still going to school. Like, how can they know what they want despite them going to school and having those conversations on, am I on the right track? Do I continue school? I've invested a certain amount of time already coming to school that they want to just stick it through, or they, like, what do you tell those people that they're in the fence right now of staying in school and leaving?
Yeah. So when people ask me, should I stay in school? Should I not stay in school? I stay away from that question. I never give anybody any answers. I just say, like, legitimately, like, what are you pretending not to know? Because that's really a question we can't really answer for people, right? And oftentimes when people ask us those questions, they already know the answer they want to hear. They just don't want to take responsibility or the ownership of that answer. So it's almost like if I ask somebody that I look up to, they give me that answer and I run with that, at least I can say if it doesn't work out, that it was somebody else's advice. So typically what I tell them, I go, I can't tell you that. That's a life decision that you got to make. But deep down, if you truly ask yourself, you already know what you want to do. You're just waiting for permission to do it. And really the only person that can give you that permission is you, because self-discovery is what leads to commitment. You know, how many times have our close family and friends have told us the things we need to change, the things we need to shift, but it's only until we personally discovered it ourselves do we actually go out there and change that. So my answer to your question is, what are you pretending not to know, and what is it that you really want to do? And then, you know, then it goes deeper too. Then they go, well, I want to do this, but I'm just scared. I'm just scared. And oftentimes what stops people is fear. And I think what that is just, you know, as human beings, our minds can calculate what we could lose if we make a decision. But for whatever reason, it has a hard time calculating what it can gain. You know, and I'll give you an example. For the last 5 years, I've been doing, you know, transformation. And a lot of people don't know this, but I didn't make a lot of money doing it, you know. So the last 5 years doing transformational training, you know, the results of that is like people have hundreds of pounds lost. You know, you have people that have rediscovered themselves, you know, their certainty, their belief in themselves, relationships, new relationships discovered, healed relationships. And so many people that have gone on to make a lot of money. You know, I have a gentleman that took our course. At the time, he was making $4,000 a month. And then since taking the course, he now makes $100,000 a month. And there's many stories like that. But what a lot of people don't know is the last 5 years doing those trainings, on average, what I would be making is what a typical participant would be paying. So it's like I've invested so much time into them. And, you know, because I truly believe in people. And so it was so hard for me to walk away. I was like, man, like there's so many people that depend on me. Like we're doing so much good work. And I go, I have no plans. Like if I leave this, what else is there? But I just knew inside, like it was no longer honest for me. And when I came to grips with that and I let that go, what's crazy is that, you know, in physics, they say energy can neither be created nor destroyed, right? It just exists. Right. Yeah. And so when I let that go, the energy that I was putting into that still existed. But what happened was when I got out of the way, all these opportunities started to come, and opportunities that were way greater than the one I had in front of me. So sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith, and we're standing in our own way. Like, I feel like if something's inside of you is like telling you, like, let it go, especially if they justify holding on to it.
Yeah, I agree. Right now, I'm taking a course on Bob Proctor's, and it's called Thinking into Results. And he talks about it. He calls it the terror barrier, where you have that wall that is blocking you from that freedom that you actually want. And you have those negative conversations where anxiety, fear kicks in, where it drops onto your body, it creates anxiety, and instead of you expressing it, you impress it. You keep it within you, and you go back to bondage, and you go back to what you want. And it's like, it's not what I really want, but at least it's comfortable. At least I'm okay because this is what I know.
Yeah.
But you don't want to go to the unknown because of that fear, so my question to you right there is, because I that's the question that I've been asking myself a lot, is like, you got to get clear on what you really want, right? Would you agree with that, or what other thing can you do so you go break through that terror barrier? Because sometimes we want something, but it doesn't manifest, and we go back to that bondage where it's like, okay, I didn't get it, but I'm okay where I'm at. At least I'm not in the streets. At least I have a place to live.
Yeah.
But yet I'm not satisfied. It's like settling. You're settling. It's like that story of that dog that is sitting on a nail.
Yeah.
And the guy comes and he's like, oh, well, why is he crying? Oh, it's because he's sitting on a nail. Why doesn't he move? Because it doesn't hurt bad enough.
Yeah.
That's why he doesn't move.
Most people stay at the place where it hurts bad enough for them to complain, but not enough for them to change it, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's what's crazy though. Like, Andy Warhol said it best. Most people won't change unless they make a decision to change. And, only they can do that. Right. And for some people, like myself, you have to reach that level of personal hell for you to decide to change. And, that's what's crazy. Either you change on your own, or life forces you to change. And when life forces you to change, is never easy. Right.
So how can you change on your own? When you're in that space, in that space that you really want to change, but yet you're not taking what to do, yet you're not doing it. It's like, how can you close that knowing doing gap? Because sometimes we know a lot of information, and yet we don't apply it.
Yeah, no, that's true. So I would say, like, you say, like, what would happen? What would you do if you really want to change, right? But you're not. Then my answer would be like, then you really don't want to change. The pain of staying the same is not great enough. Is not greater than the fear of change. And that's really what you need to get to. You got to get to a place where the fear of staying the same is greater than the fear of change, and only then will you change.
Can you repeat that one more time, Julian? That was so powerful.
Until the fear of staying the same is greater than the fear of change, you'll never change. And that's what it comes down to. And people have different benchmarks, right? I recently saw, I know you got into fitness, and your personal transformation is freaking amazing. And it's like, most people, they have to get to a certain point where they get a number on a scale and they go, enough's enough. And they go crazy, they go ham. Yeah. So most people have to get to that point where their back's against the ropes, their back's against the wall, and, to go out there and make that happen. Why is that? We can go deep into it, but it comes down to like dopamine and like being addicted to that. Because when we feel right and certain, it's like we get high, right? Dopamine is the same chemical that's released, when you do like cocaine or something like that. So imagine that's why people like to be defensive and justify. But when you get to a point where you're so beat up on life, your dopamine receptors are so worn out that you're just like, I just don't want to feel this anymore. I just want out. I just want something different. And that's when you change. So it's like, how aware are you? You know what I mean? Do you wait till you get to that point, or are you aware enough to say, like, I don't want to get there? And unfortunately, most people are not at that point. I mean, you look at society right now with the whole, like, take away the conspiracy theories and you take away all the other things, like the whole political unrest. Like, why are people rioting and looting? Well, because like people didn't change when it was small. And it took for something big where they're like, enough's enough. And then now it's like the actions that you're taking is so unreasonable that you have no other option but to look and to do something about it. Yeah,
that's true. Like going back to the fitness, like I remember my daughter was telling me like, Dad, you're getting fat. And I'm like, that was the point that I'm like, all right, if my daughter is telling me there's something wrong, and then I got on the scale, was 199. I'm like, I'm not breaking through 200. There's no way. And then that's when I got sick and tired of being in the space that I was in. And like right now, I'm staying healthy, and at the same time, I'm breaking through barriers. Like now I'm at the space, Julian, where I've been at a plateau of breaking through 150.
Okay.
So now it's like I'm selling myself that I'm capable of doing that. And right now I got back on my eating plan and my coach and my workouts. I can't wait till the gym again opens up, but I've been doing the workouts inside the house and stuff like that. So I get what you're saying right there. So that's huge. So let's go back to the network marketing, man. You started at network marketing. How was it? Did you have success right away? Or did you?
Quite the opposite, man. And I think that's kind of like my secret in network marketing. They're like, how are you so good at developing people? And anybody that has ever seen my organization, it's kind of like, they say it looks like a cult or like a Chinese mafia, and I don't even know why I said that. That's not even relevant to any of this. But what's funny was like, they go, how are you so good at it? And I go, because every single person I look at that gets started on my team, I accept less excuses, because when I look at them, they're way farther ahead than I was when I first got involved. Because remember, I was socially awkward. I didn't have any friends. I had no influence. I was the loser. And so when I see people, I'm like, you have friends, you have influence. People like you. You're sharp. You're good looking. You have no excuses, right? And so like that was kind of like my secret. But my first 5 years in network marketing, I didn't really make any money. I was the guy that followed the system, though. That's what's frustrating. Whether you're network marketing or not, one of the most frustrating things you can experience is when someone tells you you need to work harder. And you're like, I'm doing everything. It's frustrating. And that goes to show that it's not about just doing your best. Just do your best and everything will work out. It's probably one of the worst advice that you can tell anybody. And the reason why is because, like I said, my best is probably different than your best in different fields, right? So doing your best will only get you as far as your best can get you. So the secret is you got to do your best while studying and learning more, right? Because do your best until you know better. And then once you know better, do your best. And it's like a constant cycle. And so anyways, my first 5 years, I didn't really make a lot of money. I went to every single training, every single presentation, every single convention. And the company I was a part of, there's a convention every quarter. So I'm a broke, college dropout. So that's super expensive. Had to find the money for that. But I was hopeful. And so what ended up happening was 5 years in, my mentor became a really good friend of mine. And he just took this transformational course. And he sat down with me and he goes, Julian, listen, you pay your auto ship every month. You're lucky to even make $200 a month on a good month. I honestly, don't think anybody can make it anymore. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, we tell everybody network marketing, anybody can do it. But I'm starting to think not everybody can do it. Because I see you're so positive, you show up, but for whatever reason, something's missing. He goes, listen, I'm going to pay for you to take this course. And the reason why I want you to take this course is that if network marketing doesn't work out for you, at least I can say I contributed something. And I was like, dang, I'm that bad, right? And so I took that transformational course, and that's when everything changed, because my whole entire life, I always thought the answer was in the action. What do I need to do? What do I need to do, right? Think about it. When things go wrong, what's the first thing that we ask ourselves? What do I need to do? What do I need to do?
Correct.
And it was in that training I realized it's what you need to do is very, very important. But what's more important is who do you need to be? Because who you need to be to do the things, to have all the things you need to have. So again, like in sales, like, let's take a look at network marketing. We all have to do the same thing. We all invite, we all present, we all close, train, and launch. You can give the same people the same scripts, right? But what determines your success? It's not the scripts you have, because we can all have the same scripts. It's who you're being when you do the things that you do, right? It's like saying it's not what you say, it's how do you feel about what you say, right? And so that was the biggest secret for me. I go, man, like I need to change how I show up. I need to be confident. I need to be certain, And so I took that and I applied it to network marketing. And literally 90 days after taking my first training, I made my first $10,000 a month. So imagine $200 to $10,000. Within the next 2 years, I built a team of over 15,000 people internationally. I went from being a person that nobody knew who he was to speaking on a different stage in a different city, state, or even country every single week. And I lived the life that most people think that, you need to have to become successful. Like I had the cars, the places. And I remember at the height of my career, I was making an annual income on a monthly basis, but I was also the most miserable. And I was like, this isn't right. Like, I was taught like, hey, do all this and you'll be happy. And I have all this. I'm more miserable than I was before. Because at least before, when I didn't have it, I had hope. It's like, well, if I get there, then I can finally be happy. I got
So
there.
why were you miserable? You went from making $200 to now traveling the world, speaking in front of thousands of people. You change, instead of just action doing, you started being like that.
Yeah.
How were you feeling when you were with that prospect and everything?
Yeah.
Why were you miserable?
Because I was being who I needed to be to have the results in business. And that was just a small section because, you know, for a lot of us, we think it's all about making the money. Once we make the money, then we take care of our health. Once we make the money, then we can do what we're really passionate about. Once we have the money, then we can invest in our relationships. Once we have the money, we can do this. So it's like everything we want is in the future. And so once I got the money, everything else was underdeveloped. It's kind of like if you work out, you build certain muscles, you're super strong in that. Whatever muscles you didn't develop, you're super exposed. You know what I mean? And so that's kind of what I experienced. And, you know, I started realizing that, man, some people think money is so important, but they're so broke, all they have is money. You have no idea how many wealthy people I meet that lost their souls on their path to success, right? They lost who they were. Their bodies are out of shape. They're not healthy. You know what I mean? Their relationships are disconnected, right? They have no relationship with their wife, their kids. And I was like, I don't want that. And so that's when I got back into transformation. And, you know, I got certified and everything like that because I wanted to pull myself out of that. And so I was like, man, you could have it all. There has to be a way to have it all. And you don't have to sacrifice one to have the other. And so that was kind of the journey that I went on.
So from right there, you left network marketing and you went into the transformation?
So it was gradual. So I started transformation. I mean, just to be completely transparent. So I started transformation. It was very, very successful. But the company I was involved at the time, you know, due to politics or whatever it is, they were kind of worried, oh, Julian's doing his own thing. Like, is he going to cross recruit? Is he going to is this his way of making money? And so, I mean, you know, I understand people meet you wherever, you know, from whatever vantage point that they come from. And so I kind of slowly phased out of that. And then I just started doing it full time. And then, you know, different things happen.
Got it. So you did mention earlier that when you were doing that, you weren't making money, but you were being fulfilled, right? So you let go of the money that you were making in network marketing to go and get fulfilled, but then and
I lost the money,
and then you lost the money, right?
Yeah. And that's kind of the interesting thing, you know. It's like, you know, it's like the monk that sold his Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
And then a follow-up book, the monk misses the Ferrari. That's kind of what happened. And so I was like, because I was kind of I looked at doing transformation work not as a business. Maybe that might have been my mistake. I looked at myself as an artist, right? Because I love speaking. I love, you know, making a difference in people. You know, especially I see someone coming in one way. My mission is having them walk out a different way, right? And so that was what it is. But, you know, a lot of people, when they look at themselves as an artist, there's an underlying story of you can't do it for the money, because if you do it for the money, it's not noble. And then so along that journey, then tweaking it too, finding the balance in both of it. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what it was. And, you know, also learning about different behavior traits like codependency and narcissism and all that stuff. And, you know, yeah, so it's pretty crazy. So it was a valuable experience for me to kind of set me up for what's next and everything.
Got it. That makes sense. So when it comes to the transformational training, what do you focus on when someone comes to you and someone new, you don't know anything about them there? Because I was part of some of those transformational training workshops. Yeah. And they talk a lot about who you're being, how you're showing up to the world, how people see you. And I gotta be honest with you, brother. In the course that I took, it was good, but at the same time, I felt like they break you down to the piece that you're nothing, and then they rebuild you back up. They tell you
for sure.
Yeah, that was my experience, and
yeah.
I think in my mind, I'm there's gotta be another way. I don't want to feel like they're belittling me, and then they bring me back up. So how did you practice yours?
So that's the old way of doing it, right? So they call it. So if we're talking about transformation, which sounds like you took it, right? It's a lot of exercises and stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of breakdowns, so you could have those breakthroughs, right?
Yeah. Which is necessary, but I definitely think there's a different approach. You know what I mean? So originally when it was created in the 70s, right? In the 1970s by a guy named John Hanley. He created a company called LifeSpring. That's where everything started, and everything kind of branched from that, right? So there's LifeSpring, and then there's another branch that was Landmark. So it's kind of the two directions that people go into. Both same philosophies, different approach. So I bought the rights from John Hanley. But the old school way of doing it, we call it the classic model, and it's very right or wrong, right? Which is probably what you experience. It's like black and white, you know? The way we do it is like quantum transformation is there's no such thing as right or wrong. Is does that support you or does it not support you? Because what would happen with the old model, yes, you break people down and then they have the breakthroughs. But oftentimes the decisions they made is because you broke them down and it comes from survival. So it's like, it's not about what you do, it's from the place that it's coming from, right? So what do I mean by that?
It's not lasting, right?
It's not lasting because it's not their commitment. And it's, right. And again, it's not the actions that you're taking, it's from the place it's coming from. So are you operating from survival? Or are you operating from abundance, right? So imagine the person that's showing up for his wife, buying her flowers, loving her and doing all that because he's pulled to do it, because he's from abundance, is going to get different results than someone that feels like he's going to lose his wife and does the same thing. Does that make sense? 100%. And so with us, we do it a little bit different. Like, you know, the way we look at it is like, okay, here's your life. You're so deep into it, you can't see the whole picture. So we're going to grab you, put you in a helicopter, give you a bird's eye view so you can look down and give you these examples. And from there, you decide, does that support me? Does that not support me? Because the way my approach is like, hey, in our class, we're not going to tell you how to think. We're just going to show you how you think. We're not going to tell you what matters. We're going to show you what matters to you. And at the end of the day, you know, when you find out what it is that you want, you just got to ask yourself, is what I'm doing in alignment with that or not? So in our transformation, the DNA was very similar, but we brought it into modern day with a lot of different science and different tools from other people that we've learned from as well.
Yeah, it's totally different, man. Because my experience, it was, at first, yeah, like, the first couple of days, you're all fired up. You're being a whole different person, but then you go back to bondage. You go back to who you really were, and in the beginning of the course. So I saw that, and I'm like, man, there's something missing. And then after months went by, I got pissed. I'm like, man, they made me feel like this and that. Yeah, and all those conversations just come back at you, and it's like, I knew there was something different.
And the best trainers, and that's why getting certified is so important, right? You know, the best trainers disappear themselves. They take themselves out of the picture, and it's about them, right? You know, I think it's Andrew Jackson that said it best. He says, a true leader is the one that people barely know is there. And when the job is done, they would have said they did it themselves. And I think a lot of leaders, what happens is they make themselves the issues. They give the answers. So again, it's not they didn't come up with the answers. Does that make sense? A trainer told them the answers. So when they leave, it's not their own discovery. And so because of that, they go, oh, my life changed because of the course. My life changed because of the trainer instead of I did the work. And that's another reason why, like, it's not long lasting too.
I love that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to influence and leadership, you're big on that. You've grown teams, you've grown organizations all over the world. You've been to different countries to speak. What is your definition of leadership to you?
I think leadership is two parts, right? Half of it is what I call servant leadership, which is a fancy way of saying servant leadership. I just think it sounds better.
Servant.
Right? Servant.
Yeah, it does.
Sounds kind of French, right?
Yeah, it does.
So servant leadership is leading by example. I think that's number one. Whatever field that you're in, you know the type of leader you'd want to follow. We all know that. How do I know? Because most people like to complain, right? And most people don't like taking responsibility. So when they don't have the results, the first thing they do is they complain about the leadership and the environment. So I go, okay, cool. So if you can complain about it, that means you have an idea of what it needs to look like. So instead of waiting for someone else to be the leader, you know, John Legend said it best, right? In his song, If You're Out There, he goes, I was searching for a leader, but the leader is me. And I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing we need to remind ourselves is that we're all looking for leadership, but the true leader is us. If you want to lead many, you got to lead one, right? If you can lead one, you can lead many. But if you can't lead one, you can't lead any. So you got to lead yourself. So servant leadership is being that leader you want to follow, right? Leading by example, doing the things that you want your people to do. And servant leadership is like, you know, how I build my organizations is, my philosophy is what I tell my leaders is, hey, you want to find people that would be willing to cut off their right arm for you. That's the kind of people you want to find. And they go, well, how do I find people like that? I go, very, very simple. They need to know that you're willing to cut off both arms for them. That's servant leadership. Is that whatever you're asking your people to do, your people know that you'll be willing to do twice as much. So that's how you get people to follow you, right? People go, well, Julian, how do I get my team motivated? How do I get my team inspired? I go, you be motivated. You get inspired. Like, how do I get my team to work more? You work more. So that's servant leadership. The second half is what I call transformational leadership. And that's where the true magic of leadership and coaching comes into. So transformation leadership is like being able to meet people where they are. It's being able to be with them in such a way that you can see their fears, their doubts, their insecurities, their hopes, their goals, and their dreams. Meet them where they're at and give them a different perspective so that way they can go after what they want. So that's my definition of leadership: servant leadership and transformational leadership. One is leading by example, and the other one is meeting people where they are and giving them a different perspective that they didn't see possible before.
I love what you said about cutting both arms, because people, it's like that quote that says, people are going to follow you if they see how much you care about them, right? If they see that you're willing to help them out and support them in their issues, their problems, and give them a solution, support them with the solution.
Yeah.
So don't just
point out the problems. Also celebrate the victories, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So servant leadership and then transformation leadership. Love it. I'm writing some notes right here, man, because this is like right now. I transitioned to kind of like network marketing. I think I talked to you about that with the financial industry. So I've always been a salesperson. I've always just focused on myself and leading myself and going out there, make six figures and everything. But building a team has always drawn my attention, but yet I didn't know how to do it. Right now I'm focusing on reading a lot of information when it comes to leadership, your potential and stuff like that. So that's why I asked you that question, because I know that you build big organizations, and there's something right there, right? So it's like in network marketing, they say it's okay to model someone as long as you're modeling the right person.
Yeah, you got to be I know we have mutual friends, right? You got to be a copycat, but make sure you're copying the right cat.
Copying the right cat, exactly. So yeah, I changed it. Instead of copycat, I put the modeling, because you're modeling their behaviors, you're modeling their actions and stuff like that. So that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because it's so important for me right now, especially in the space that I'm getting into. And I know that a lot of people that are going to be watching this, they're getting in that space of building teams, and maybe it's not in network marketing, but maybe it's their own company that they went from being one single person to now they want to branch out and have people under the organization and being able to build it. Yeah. So I know that a lot of people could relate to that and get benefit from that. So what are some more aspects, Julian, that you think is beneficial for people when they're building a team, a foundation? How do they build the right foundation? Because without the right foundation, things are going to fall off right away.
Yeah. The first thing I tell anybody that's in a position of leadership, the best book that you could read that will change your life as far as leadership, it's an old book, but it's one of the best I've ever read. It's John C. Maxwell, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And that one breaks down leadership so beautifully. And like, right off the bat, law number one, law of the lid, right?
Law of the lid, yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. Just keep raising your lid. And if you keep raising your lid, guess what? You're going to raise the lid for your people too, because your people can only go as far as you can. And I think that's the biggest thing that you got to remember as far as building a team is, like, again, you would be the leader you want to follow, but also be the worker, the rep, the employee that you want to attract. And I think that's probably the most simplest way to break it down as far as leadership. Is to be the person you want to follow, but also be the person you want to attract.
Be the person you want to follow, but also be the person that you want to attract. And yeah, that book, I'm currently reading it right now as we speak. So I just passed chapter 3. So I read The Law of the Lid, where how he shares the story of the McDonald's brothers and how Ray Kroc went in there and he had that leadership lid to the high, and they did it, and that's what he was able to run with and transform what McDonald's is today. Yeah. So,
and I think that's a big one too, is like being humble too. So it's like knowing what your lid is. And if you want to go further, don't be afraid of like reaching out for help, reaching out for support, and having somebody else that comes in with a higher lid to support you to bridge that gap. I think we live in a society where everybody wants to do everything on their own. And I think, hey, you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to go with people. So surround yourself with the right people.
So let's touch on that, because like you hit it right there. A lot of people, they're too prideful. Their ego's on the way that they don't want to ask for help, but they're begging for help. But at the same time, they don't want to take it, or they don't want to search for it. What do you tell those people?
I tell them get over themselves. I go, do you want to be right, or do you want to be rich? I mean, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and it goes back to what my mentor told me. He goes, Julian, if you can have everything you want the way you are, you should already have it. So if you want more, you got to become more. So there's different ways to become more. One is you can read the books, you can listen to the tapes, you can do all that, which is valuable. Study, right? Or the biggest life hack is surround yourself with the people that have the things you want, right? Just like you said, modeling, right? Surrounding yourself with the people that have what you want, they're producing the results you want to have, especially in the fields that you want to do it in, and just simply being around them, you're going to pick up the habits, the words, the language, of success. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, that's a great hack. Like surrounding the proximity, right? The people that you surround yourself with. Yeah, I always say if you hang around 5 broke people, within time you're gonna be that number 6. Yeah. But if you hang around 6 millionaires, within time they're either gonna help you become that millionaire, or you're gonna go down to that other crowd where they're not millionaires and playing a lower game. Yeah. So right now, what are you up to, Julian? How are you helping the community, and what are your plans for the next 5 years? How do you see yourself? Because I know that you're not in the network marketing space right now as we speak, right?
I am, but at a different capacity. So currently right now, I'm an executive vice president of leadership for a network marketing company. So they brought me in to develop the culture, to build the systems and the science of building organizations. Because, in the very beginning, you create momentum by doing as many presentations as you can, doing as many events as you can, doing as much as you can. But how do you sustain momentum is you need to create systems. Right. And so essentially that's what I'm doing for the company. I'm doing a lot of consulting work for other companies as well. I'm doing a lot of one-on-one coaching. And also currently I'm also a district manager for a solar company, which is pretty cool. So essentially it's all the same thing. Leadership development and communication skills, I would say, is probably the 2 biggest skills that you can develop that will pay you big money in any industry. So I'm working on that. And then once this whole COVID thing is done and we can kind of have an idea of when we can have large events again, I'm going to launch the seminar again, but in a different capacity, in a different way. So that's what I'm currently working on. So as far as
seminar as far as transformation and training or
yeah, but it's going to be a little bit different. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be based on the old model of, 3 trainings, the basic, the advanced, and the leadership program. It's going to be modified because I believe, especially right now, I think people are hungry for success. They're thirsty for knowledge. And, I think right now, especially the whole COVID, I honestly, I think the whole COVID thing is beautiful. And the reason why is oftentimes I think God sends distractions to us. And they're not really distractions. They're actually directions for us to go hit our destiny. And I think a lot of people right now are starting to recognize that the path that they're on is not really authentic. Because how many people put all their eggs in one basket for a safe and secure job, only to realize their job's not safe and secure anymore, that their job can easily replace them or something can happen and they could just lose it. And so now people want more control of their lives. People want direction. And so, I'm excited to create something for them in that space.
Yeah, I love that. It's true what you said right there, because I was that type of person. I had all my eggs in one basket, which was home security. I've been doing that for the last 8 years, and it was a conversation that I had in my head, like, oh no, like you shouldn't jump into another company or another venture because people are gonna look at you different. Like you should stick to the alarm because that's your identity now. Yeah. But the more that I see it, is like, no, like I need to diversified, and I need to be able to have things in place, especially with this whole COVID. That's when it fired me up. I'm like, all right, all the information that I'm learning, now it's time to be and do at the same time, right? Now I gotta be that person, and I gotta do it. I gotta put the action behind it, and I gotta get creative and be resourceful with my resources and use them to my advantage.
Absolutely.
Because it's this whole thing is helping us elevate our standards, and it's either time will either promote you or expose you.
Yeah. So, and in times of chaos comes great opportunity.
Yes.
I forgot who said it. I think it was Warren Buffett who said it. He said, "Be greedy when people are scared, and be scared when people are greedy." So it's like right now everybody's scared. So what does that mean? There's so much opportunity. I mean, you look at stocks, right? Stocks are going down. People are like, "Oh my God, everything's bad. Stocks are dropping." Well, guess what? Stocks are going to go back up. Stocks just perceived value. So right now, the travel industry, people are like, okay, the perceived value is low. Stocks drop. So right now, while everybody's selling, this is the time to buy, right? And then it's going to start skyrocketing. And then what's going to happen? Everybody's going to buy because they're going to get greedy. What do? You sell, right? That's just one avenue of it. And I think there's a lot of opportunity going on right now. But I also like what you said, because what you said was where I'm at. And there's a huge book that shifted things for me. It's called Power versus Force. I recently read it. And, force is operating out of survival. Power is operating from abundance, right? You want to go in the direction where you feel empowered and you're pulled in that direction, not a place where you feel like you have to force it and be pushed, if that makes sense. And so for the longest time, like that's what transformation in the manner that I was doing it became for me. I had to force myself to do it. There was a lot of resistance there instead of going where there's a flow, right? And then it's like you have that voice of expansion that says, hey, why not take a leap of faith and do something new? And then all of a sudden that voice of fear and contraction comes in and it goes, well, are you sure about that? And it's like, always go with the voice of expansion. That's what I've learned. Go with the voice of expansion.
That's true. You hit it, because those have been my conversations of like, man, I was making good money and everything, but at the same time, I wasn't fulfilled. Yeah. And I had to ask myself, I'm like, do you want the money? If you want the money and that's it, it's fine. There's no right or wrong. But what do you want? And I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to, like, I'm in the same boat that you are. I want to be able to change people's lives. That's why I started this whole podcast. One, for me to gain more value from other people and to surround myself with the right proximity, but at the same time to show validation of people that are playing a big game, that have changed their lives, and that are examples to the community that is possible for them. Because that's the whole objective of it. It's like Inky Johnson, like I love that guy, man. He says, as common courtesy, your obligation is to leave this world better than you found it. Yeah. And your perspective is going to drive your performance. How you view what you do is always going to affect how you do what you do. Absolutely. So I started working on like, all right, so like I do want the money, but I want something bigger than the money, because if I just want the money, then it's just going to be about me. I want to be able to change people's life, change people's family's trajectory. That's why I started getting into, all right, well, what space is going to allow me to do that? Yeah, speaking is going to allow me to do that as well. And that's why, like, you inspire me to speak and get uncomfortable, man. I used to be very afraid of speaking in public, man.
Would never be able to tell.
Oh man, like I was very afraid. Like I was that kid that would sit in the back of the class, wouldn't talk to anyone. When it was time to present in front of the students, I will miss that day. I'll find a way to get sick just so I wouldn't show up. So, but I understand now that when you speak in front of an audience and you're giving them value, you go impact so many people's lives. Like I've spoken in high schools, I've spoken in middle schools. That fulfills me. That drives me. And it's true what you say. It's like, you're not making money, but it fulfills you. Yeah. It's like, you're getting so much fulfillment, and it fires you up because you're seeing the change in other persons that you're like, man, I made an impact in that person. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and the thing about that, looking at the last 5 years, like not really making a lot of money, but like creating a lot of success stories, like just pouring into people. When you listen to the voice of expansion and you just run with it, I honestly learned to adopt the belief that everything happens for you, not to you, and everything's in your best benefit. And the reason why I say that is because the gig I have right now, being the executive vice president of leadership development, the reason why that came, the guy that runs the company is super successful. I mean, 28, they wrote about him in CNBC and, Forbes, Fortune, all this other stuff. But I knew of him, he knew of me, but we never met. And how this whole relationship came to be was that his closest friends end up taking my training. They took my training, their lives changed, right? And then his two closest brothers took the training, their lives changed. So he saw it directly affect his friends and then his own family. So when it came time to vet people, and then so what ended up happening was they had an event in January. They invited me out. I went to speak. They were vetting for people. And because of all those experiences and people that I poured into, there are so many people that vouch for me that they're like, this is the guy that I wanted. So what's crazy, the last 5 years, I can say, I didn't make a lot of money, but all that was a deposit into the relationships for the opportunities that came now. And if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have what I had now. And what I have now is the perfect marriage of both. It's like getting paid a lot more, you know what I mean? But also being able to serve at a higher capacity. So it's almost like a rite of passage. It's just trust that your timing is going to come, and just don't compare, your time with somebody else. You know what I mean? The other day I was in a car with one of my leaders, and, he was just like talking, like, edifying me and stuff like that. And my girlfriend said it best to him. My girlfriend said, hey, you can't compare your chapter 15 to Julian's chapter 15 to your chapter 5. But, when you get to your chapter 15, you're probably going to be way further ahead than he is. And that's what you got to look into. And so I believe that too.
And you delayed the gratification because you were not getting compensated monetary, but you were getting that fulfillment of serving other people.
Yeah.
And then that compounded because by you helping those people connected you to the person that you now partnered up with.
Yeah.
By you not thinking of like, oh, well, I'm not making money, so why should I even be doing this? Why should I even be investing my time, my energy, pouring into these people when I'm not even getting paid right now? Like you looked at it different because you were coming from a place of serving and helping other people, and the universe just works itself out because whatever you put out, you get right back, right? So
and
now you're getting it.
That's the secret. Every high achiever knows that the secret spot to success is being in a place to give value. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. You know, it's not about announcing your value. It's about giving your value. And then when you come from a collaborative standpoint, like when you know you're good, and it's like, what can I add to this moment? What can I add to these people? Those people remember it because you're giving without no expectation. And so because of that, things will come back to you tenfold. And, you know, that's what I've come to learn, like every single time.
That's amazing, brother. Yeah, and that's why now, like you said, you're getting the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
you're being an impact at a high volume, and at the same time get compensated for it.
Absolutely,
so, which is amazing, brother. All right. Well, any last words, brother, that you want to share with the audience? How can we find you on social media? When are you going to have these courses? Are you providing coaching one-on-one? How do they get in contact with you?
So as far as right now, I do one-on-one coaching. So they just got to send me a direct message on Instagram. I'm not really promoting it right now, only because time is my most valuable asset. So I don't want to promote that because I only have so many hours in a day. But if people reach out and ask, we'll definitely set something up. You can find me on Instagram at LIT Julian D. Don't forget the D. Not sure if I'm allowed to say that or not, but it's my little joke. But find me on Instagram. It's probably the best way. As far as like seminars, as soon as we know when we're allowed to have large gatherings again, we're going to start planning out maybe 90 days after that. It's going to be pretty sick, man. We're going to have this huge thing. We already have a lot of people that are going to be plugging in, high valuable people. And it's going to be a 7-day retreat. It's going to be pretty intense, and it's going to be filmed, and it's going to be turned into a documentary. And so, again, about giving value, right? So it's going to be turned into a documentary. Kind of like Tony Robbins, like, I'm not your guru.
Yeah.
And so my goal with that is to give them a bird's eye view of the experience. They're not going to get everything, but they're going to see some of the distinctions. They're going to see lives change. They're going to see how some of the exercises and live coaching works. So my hope with that is give so much free value that when it's time to say, hey, if you want to take the next one, they're like, man, if I got so much value just watching, that hour documentary, what can I get from being there live? So it's going to be sick. So that's going to be the next thing.
That's awesome, brother, man. I want to definitely keep me on the loop. I would love to be part of it and take that course, man.
Love to have you there, man. Don't worry, I'm not going to break you down. I'm not going to make you feel like you're worthless.
Thank you, man. Thank you for that. Yeah, man, because this is touching back on what you said in the beginning, like when you said, "Oh, I'm just a normal guy," and it's not that's not true, because it's like, and you caught it now, because we all have something special within us.
Yeah,
we all have potential. We're made from an image of our Creator, and it's just like we gotta believe it. We gotta believe it. And that's where the first step comes into. You got to believe that you have that power within you, and there's so much trapped within you. Yeah. But when you constantly stay on that conversation, well, I'm nobody. I'm just a regular guy, and it's like you start believing that conversation.
You manifest that. Yeah. And so you said a couple of things, and I guess we'll wrap it up with that. With this, you're a big fan of Bob Proctor. You're taking his class, which is awesome. Yeah. So you're a big fan of Think and Grow Rich, and you mentioned likeness of our Father. So obviously you're a man of faith, and it's kind of interesting. So something, whether you're a person of faith or not, this is how it was broken down to me, and it made sense. It's like how you view yourself. It's how you're going to experience the world, right? Mm-hmm. And they say the two most powerful words is "I am." And then whatever you put after that will shape your destiny. So how do you view yourself? You take a look at God, right? When they ask God, who are you? God says, I am that I am. So those two words are powerful. Now you're like, well, I don't believe in God. I believe in the universe. Well, what does the universe mean? Uni means one, verse means an arrangement of words, right? So I am shapes the universe. You can't create a world without the word. So what words are you using to shape everything? So, the thing I can leave you at is how you view yourself is how you're going to experience the world. Don't try to change the world to experience yourself, right? Change yourself to experience the world.
Change yourself to experience the world. I love that, brother. Yeah, that was huge right there. in itself, man. Thank you for your time, Julian. I really appreciate you coming and serving the community. I know that a lot of people are gonna get a ton of value from this. I took a lot of notes right here, man. You had some punches, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for your time, brother.